My guest today is Sebastien, also known as Seb. Seb is the CEO and co-founder at Sophon. Sophon, of course, building some very cool looking on-chain experiences. Really, I guess the focus is on entertainment and, of course, a simple, seamless experience to help onboard, well, millions, even billions of people to Web3. I'm sure that is the aim. Welcome to the show, Seb.
Hey Andy, thanks for having me.
It is a pleasure, Seb, but let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. It would be cool if you could please introduce yourself. Would love to hear just a little bit of your personal and professional backstory. Yeah, what have you been doing in the lead up to co-founding Sophon?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Swiss, born in Switzerland, based in between Switzerland and the UK. I've been in crypto for a number of years now, around since 2020. Uh, I started my career in finance, like quite a lot of people in this space. I was working for a private bank that was, um, well, I was in a team that was focused on choosing the asset managers that the bank was working with. And around 2018, 2019, the bank got really interested in crypto because clients were coming. They were saying, hey, we want to have exposure to Bitcoin. We want to have exposure to ETH. But back then, there was no ETFs, right? There were no products. And so we had to start to figure out how to do that. So I met with most of the asset managers sort of emerging at the time, namely Grayscale, um, 21 Shares, which used to be called Amoon at the time. And at a certain moment, I decided like this is what I want to be doing full time. I don't really want to be working in a bank anymore. I'd rather be working in crypto. It sounds far more interesting. So I left in 2020, um, learned everything I could during DeFi summer. And then pretty quickly, it was clear to me that working for a network would be a lot of fun and a great experience to broaden my network and learn a lot more. So I joined a blockchain called Nervos in late 2020. Worked there for around 2 years as head of DeFi, and then I started doing some research again, and I was convinced that Ethereum was the place to be. It was the largest community from a developer perspective. There were the most things going on, and I felt like I was missing out by not being part of that overall community. So I started looking at ETH again, and this was the time that L2s were starting to take off, right? So I did some research, and there were basically two ways of building L2s using optimistic rollups or zero knowledge rollups. Optimistic rollups had a head start, right? So Optimism was out. This is before Arbitrum launched, but just around then. And I was like, okay, well, what's the other option? And the other option was ZK. And ZK really, there was not a lot of information about it online back then. So you really had to dig. And I figured out who were the teams building zero knowledge rollups. And I really liked Matter Labs. I liked what they were building with ZKSync. So I did what I had to do for them to hire me, and I was their head of DeFi for around 2 years as well, until last year. And basically a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, I decided that it was time to move on. So L2s like ZK Sync, Optimism, Arbitrum, etc., they had now shipped a lot of their base tech, and they were in the process of open sourcing their code bases so that people could fork them and build their own chains. So famously for Optimism, it's the OP stack, for instance, that Base use or Zora use. And in the case of ZK Sync, we call it the Elastic Chain. And I figured, okay, this is a great moment for me to leave and build something that I think would actually be very meaningful, right? And choose a customer base that I thought would make the most sense. And I thought focusing on the end consumer and doing so by building something that was focused on entertainment, on social and gaming, different types of things was the right thing to do. So we came up with the concept of Sophon, and we went to the market. We raised a seed round. We then did a very successful note sale where we raised 21,000 ETH, which was around 65 million at the time. This was around a year ago. And then we got to building and been building Sophon ever since.
And maybe this is a too obvious, Seb, but Sophon does that just literally mean so fun?
No. So Sophon is actually it comes from the three body problem,
Oh,
which is of course a book, but um, there was a show on Netflix about the book.
very good show, a great show,
This is
great book.
actually it's a coincidence, right? The show came out on Netflix just around the time where we were launching, and everybody found out about the three body problem. Obviously, the book is much older, but I think a lot of people in the world were not aware of it until they've seen the show.
Of course.
And in the show, you have these antagonists called sophons, which are these little particles that they can kind of like consume information, but they can't necessarily internalize it or understand what it is. And we thought there was a nice parallel with ZK, because when you're generating a zero knowledge proof for a piece of information, you're not actually seeing the information, right? You just have this proof that you can verify that the information is um, is true. And we thought that was a nice idea, a nice concept, and the
Got
name
it.
just sounded cool.
Yeah, it does. All right. Well, give us the kind of the high level thesis then, Seb. I mean, so you've kind of done that a little bit in terms of, you want to make, I guess, cool experiences. It's a little bit about entertainment. It's about culture, gaming. It's about what people do online, and a lot of that is, entertainment based. Right. So I guess that's kind of a simple thesis, but yeah, expand on that in terms of how you guys at Sophon see that.
Sure. The So the first premise was a lot of a lot of the tech that's been built by these engineering companies. They're built by engineers, and the companies building these technology solutions are engineering companies. They're not the end product, or they're not building the end products that are important for consumers. And the way that we started thinking about it is nobody really cares when they're on a general blockchain um, what the tech is, right? It's a little bit as if I was telling you, in order for you to use your Netflix account, you should log on to AWS first or log on to Google Cloud. This is not how you as an end consumer behave, right? You just log on and it works, and the underlying infrastructure is kind of invisible. And so we chose what we thought was the best invisible infrastructure, and then decided to build a company that was product led instead of the other way around in crypto, where it's very much engineering led. So we wanted to build a company where the product was focused very much on design, on UI, on UX, and on creating a very homogeneous user experience that we can then bring to end users and use that to onboard them onto crypto, right? Because that's what's been missing in our space.
Yeah, makes sense. So the idea, of course, is, I think I've seen you guys talk about this in terms of it's just mass adoption, which is what everyone in crypto wants, but it's not going to happen, as you've kind of identified, by, explaining to people that they need to bridge from here to here, chain to chain. It's just, it's too much information. There's too many steps for the average.
You've got to ask yourself why is mass adoption not happened yet?
Yes, why, Seb? Tell us.
I mean, everybody has opinions about this, right? And I'd love to know yours, but I, in my case, I think it's because we haven't really gotten to this stage where products are being built where you have an empathetic respect towards who the end user is. And I think a lot of products so far have been built for very crypto native people or very tech focused people, and not really studying how you talk about mass adoption, so how mass markets behave when they use technology. And to me, it felt pretty simple. Like, let's just take a step back and let's observe how does mass market consume tech in a Web 2 perspective. How are these habits shaped? How are they formed? What really matters to people? What is it that gets them hooked? What is it that loses them? And then try and fork those learnings into using crypto as a front end. And that's what we're building.
Yeah, 100%. Because the way I look at it, I guess there's obviously different reasons why people would look at crypto, whether they see it as potentially some kind of investment or hedging strategy. In which case, the best thing for the average person to do is simply, maybe buy some Bitcoin and stash it away, or even easier, just buy one of the ETFs and then forget about it. That's one use case. But if you want to get beyond that in terms of getting into, some on-chain gaming or social AI prediction markets, owning NFTs, that kind of, I know you guys talk about the financialization of culture, which is a great way of explaining it. And obviously that's where we're heading, but that's the transition from Web 2 to Web 3. So maybe talk about, that strategy from your guys' perspective, that, the gaming, the social prediction markets, that's what people do online already. How do you see that what you guys are doing at Sophon enhances that by enabling ownership?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that people do on a day-to-day basis that can be enhanced by using crypto, either from a loyalty perspective, a rewards perspective, a social validation, social verification perspective. A lot of these things can be enhanced, and there's a lot of composability that can happen with the different types of verticals. So for us, we decide to focus on the end consumer, right? So we look at different verticals that make sense to the end consumer. It could be entertainment, namely gaming, social, ticketing, different types of DPIN or RWA. Um, the gaming space is one that I'm pretty keen about because crypto gaming has never really worked.
Mm.
It's very much been built by crypto companies or crypto builders, let's say, which has created these sort of like Ponzified games, and that's always kind of had a net negative result. Whereas we focus on the complete other side of the spectrum. We work with games that already exist, that have a Web2 audience, that have product market fit, that have a user base, and then we sort of help them rotate their business logic or their backends using crypto. And it can start with small things. It can be payments, ownership, and then you move on to rewards, loyalty, things like this. And we have an incredible pipeline of projects working on this. The most exciting one, who we will release in Q2 this year, is a game that's been on the Apple Store for a number of years. They've done 350 million downloads. They've got around 2 million monthly active users. I mean, this is a real game, right? This is something that people play very regularly. And the founder, who's been in the mobile gaming space for 2 decades, he's very keen and very passionate about how the intersection of crypto and gaming is possible, how play to earn can work if it's done correctly. So he's re-engineered his game to be the first example of this, and we're going to go to market with it pretty soon. And yeah, I think if that's successful, which I'm pretty sure it will be, you're going to have this aha moment where a lot of game developers or mobile game developers decide to pivot to integrate crypto into their business logic. It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, interesting, Seb. And the Sophon, your website and your branding, and listeners, obviously the link is in the show notes, but if you want to look at it now, it is Sophon, which is SOPHON.xyz. And, the website, it's, yeah, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Seb, but it kind of looks cool. You've obviously tried to make it feel cool, but in an effortless way, if that makes sense. It looks like, there's quite a nice aesthetic there. You can imagine someone that's a little bit into fashion or design. They would kind of get the kind of, the aesthetic that you're going for here. I guess that's intentional.
It's completely intentional, Andy. And this is something from the get-go that I was very passionate about. I thought a lot of uh, a lot of stuff in crypto is ugly. It's poorly designed on the front end. It's not sexy. It's it's something that when you show a person who hasn't used tech regularly or who hasn't used crypto before, they're going to be put off, right? And then you think about what are the applications that I may use on a day-to-day basis that I find beautiful or pleasant to use. So I live in Europe, for instance. There's a company, a fintech company in Europe called Revolut. I don't
Yes.
know if you're familiar. I mean, what did Revolut do? They took banking, which is an extremely boring business, and they created a bank that has no branches, that has no physical locations. It's purely an app on your phone, but they created an app that was so obsessed with product design, user flows, making things look and feel easy that they have over, I think it's like 70 million customers now, which is insane, right? It's like, I think it's one of the biggest banks in Europe probably now. And so we kind of wanted to take the same approach. Think about how is design going to be a way to onboard new users by creating things which look easy, which feel easy, and which remind the end user or the mass market user of the experiences they're used to on a day-to-day basis in a Web2 setting.
Yeah, and look, I think you're very much achieving that. So, Seb, talk about what is possible on Sophon at the moment. What are the types of experiences that people can look at?
So there's a ton of applications which are already live. If your users or your listeners visit the portal, they'll find these different applications, whether it's social, there's a ticketing application called Open that I'm personally a big fan of, who are doing on-chain tickets using NFTs. They're actually slated to do 20 million tickets in 2025 through the different partnerships they have, mainly in Europe for things like sports or music festivals. So that's very exciting. There's mobile games. Then there's your classic, more crypto native applications, things like DeFi. There's a great stable coin called Noon, which is accruing around 7 to 10% yield. It's one of the best performing stable coins from a yield perspective on the market right now. So we're very excited to have that there. Um, but what I'm really looking forward is what we're going to be releasing in the second quarter of and third quarter of this year, and that's the internal products that we're building at Sophon. Because I was telling you earlier, for me, what matters is to have this sort of one-stop shop experience for the users, right? So we've created a lot of products internally that kind of all blend into one thing. So I wanted people to stop thinking about using wallets all the time. So instead, we created what we call the Sophon account, where users will just be able to log in with their Google or their passkey, for instance. That's an onboarding mechanism that people who've never used crypto before understand, right? It feels very familiar. And then using the Sophon account, you log into the Sophon home. And the Sophon home is kind of this landing page, this app store that you can go around and consult your account, see how the Sophon loyalty program is doing for you, be marketed to, have this discovery, have your friends, earn badges. These are concepts that mass market understand because they have them on a day-to-day basis, whether they're playing Duolingo, um, using their Oura ring or their Whoop for their fitness levels. Like these are concepts people understand.
Gamification and dopamine hits. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And then the centerpiece of this is the Sophon Data Hub, where using a technology called ZKTLS, we're allowing our users to connect and share data from different kinds of Web2 applications that they're already consuming on a day-to-day basis. So it could be you could connect your Ticketmaster account, your Uber account, your Spotify. If you're playing chess.com, uh, any kind of application that's creating data, and let's face it, most applications today create data because that's sort of the commodity of the 21st century, can be shared for the Sophon Data Hub. And the more the accounts share their these different pieces of data, the more rewards they're going to get because it's so valuable to have social data on chain. It's something that doesn't exist at all yet. And so we think we're kind of going to embark on this precipice of a bit of a revolution in terms of how we market to people in the crypto space and the types of information that we have about these accounts, because we'll know exactly what people's preferences are and what they like to do.
And I can see there's a Sophon token. I guess the ticker is Soph. I guess that's how you say it. You can tell us, Seb, but yeah, tell us about the token and how that is integrated.
Yeah, for sure. So when we launched the Sophon mainnet, that was in December 2024, so around 3 months ago, we launched the Sophon token as well, because the gas token, so what you need to pay for transactions on the Sophon network, is the Sophon token. But in order for us to have a successful and an exciting go-to-market, we sponsored gas on the chain. So the token actually, even though it's live, it doesn't have a price because only we own the token. We haven't given the token out to users yet. And we've just been subsidizing transaction costs on the network um, ever since we launched. Now, relatively soon, we'll be listing the token on centralized exchanges, and then we'll be making the token tradable for users who are using the Sophon network or who have farmed the token or whatever. At that point, the token will get a price, and then users will be able to pay for transactions on the Sophon network using the token. And they'll be able to do other things as well. They'll be able to help secure the network by participating in consensus eventually. And they'll also be able to have access to certain things, like, for instance, the data from the Sophon Data Hub that I was mentioning. That'll be token gated.
Very good. And I can see that you talk about there's a great blog. There's a blog you have about I think it's under Vision, yeah, where you talk about the shift towards the value layer of the internet and how this is already happening. And I guess that's kind of another way of talking about the financialization of culture, which is the cooler way of saying it, I guess. But yeah, just explain what you mean by that, Seb.
So what exactly should I explain what I mean by the value part, or what is it that I should dive into?
Yeah, either or, the value layer of the internet.
I mean, the internet, if you've looked at Chris Dixon's book, Read, Write, Own, Web2 is very much about reading and writing, right? And the thing that crypto makes possible is ownership. And through ownership, you have, of course, value. And crypto has been exploring these kind of concepts since smart contracts started becoming, uh, or not just a big thing, but that smart contracts started allowing people to build and express different kinds of concepts on chain. But when you think about the Ethereum virtual machine, you're really creating the next version of the internet where you're actually owning things that live online, right? Uh, you can own equity in the projects. You can govern projects. All of these concepts represent value and ownership, which exclusively exists online and kind of defies the traditional setups that we have. And that's something that I think is meaningful to a lot of people, right? And gradually, business models are gonna, or they've already started, but they're gonna start rotating more and more to leverage this power, right?
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. All right. Well, look, Seb, as we finish up this part of the podcast, for people that are just getting started with Sophon or want to explore and stay up to date, get involved, what are the various ways that people should do that? What's the best place for them to go? What should they do? Yeah, where should they go?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can go on sophon.xyz. If you can link that at the end of the show notes, it's sophon.xyz. And that's a great way to start. There's the portal where they can discover all of the applications building with us. Like you mentioned, there's our blog. We take a lot of pride in writing a lot about the different concepts that we believe in, what we're building. And in the second quarter this year, we'll be releasing all of those internal products I was telling you about. And I think that's when people are going to start to be very excited.
Very good. All right. Well, it's time to finish up the show, Seb, and we do that, of course, by running you through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round. Are you up for it?
Yeah, sure.
All right. I'm just going to run some questions at you, Seb. Just want you to give me your honest hot take style answers, if you like. No right or wrong way to do it. Question one for you, Seb, is where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
So, in Bitcoin maximalist being that I only believe in Bitcoin and nothing else.
I guess so, yeah.
Mm, Bitcoin fundamentally has one use case, and I think it's made it very clear to the market what that use case is, as in being a decentralized store of value. So conceptually, this has been accepted, and this will always work, right? So I do fervently believe in Bitcoin. The multi-chain other side is much more to be proven, right? I'm in that camp where you're going to have more and more app chains that it just becomes like running an AWS server where uh, you can have any kind of application or concept being built on it. But I think that will come much farther down in the history of crypto, right? We need to wait for this.
Yeah.
So I sit in the middle.
And I think that's the best place to be, to be fair. Thank you, Seb. What would you say then is your firmest conviction crypto opinion, Seb?
Firmest conviction, crypto opinion. I do think that crypto and gaming will eventually be a massive economy.
Absolutely. All right. Well, another way of looking at this, of course, is, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. 10 years is a very long time in crypto or in the world at the moment. It feels like anything could happen. But look, cast your mind forward 10 years' time, anything you like here. Web3, Sophon, what does it all look like?
10 years. Thinking that 10 years ago was barely the ETH ICO, actually. I mean, 10 years from now, I think you could have agentic systems that are completely autonomously trading with one another. And that crypto is actually the financial plumbing of a completely new kind of online economy.
I like it. I think that's highly likely indeed. Yet another way of looking at this, Seb, of course, is a quote that I'm sure you've heard by William Gibson, who famously said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. With that in mind, Seb, what's an example of the future being here right now, but most people aren't aware of it?
I think the all the advantages that crypto brings, especially perhaps in the DeFi sector, being able to completely live with your finances on chain, whether it's having stable coins, lending, yield farming. There's only a small part of the population that's aware of it, but it works very well. It's quite profitable. It's safe. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Very well said. All right, well, we come to the final question, Seb. Let's see what you have to say. The question is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Science fiction TV show. I'm watching Severance at the moment, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a great choice. I've seen season 1, have not started season 2 yet, but very
I just
much.
started season 1.
You just started season 1.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
I'm
Oh,
enjoying it. What's
yeah.
your
Well,
favorite?
I don't know. Look at the moment. In the past, I've said The Matrix, the first Matrix film. I really enjoyed The Three Body Problem. I haven't read the books, but I enjoyed the show on Netflix. I too thought Severance season 1 was incredible. Also the second June film, incredible piece of sci-fi. So
Yeah.
those would be all good selections, I reckon.
Dune 2 was an exceptional piece of cinema. I loved it.
Yeah, me too. Hey, this has been fun, Seb. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Just to end out the show, close out the show again. Tell people where they can go to learn all about what you and the team are building at Sophon. Shout out the socials. Shout out your socials. All that good stuff. Go for gold.
Cool. On X, we're Sophon, so pretty easy for users to find us. And online, we're sophon.xyz. And if you want to get in touch with me, my DMs are open. It's 0x Sebastien A on x.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Seb. All the best, and bye for now.
Awesome. Thank you.